The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Today's shiur is, did rejecting a GER bring Amalek? What does that mean? Very strange that the Talmud doesn't give anybody a pass, not even the holy Avot don't get a pass in the Talmud. There's a strange statement in the Talmud, and the paper in front of you, it's the Gemara in Sanhedrin 99b3. Strange Gemara there. We'll have to understand what it means and how it affects us today. Everyone have a paper?
Everyone has a paper.
Thank you. The Gemara continues with the story of Timna. See the left-hand side? This is Gemara Sanhedrin 99b. The Gemara continues with the story of Timna. Did rejecting a GER bring Amalek? Boile Yure. Timna, she was a pagan princess, and she sought to convert to the faith of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. She wanted to leave paganism, this pagan princess Timna, and be accepted by the Avot to become a righteous convert. V'loi kiblua. But the Avos did not accept her as a convert. They rejected her.
Why?
We'll see in a minute why. If Ruth was alive today, Chavi, you think she'd be accepted as a convert? The great-grandmother of the Mashiach.
Not in the state
Huh?
of Israel, that's for sure.
It's a good thing that she's not around today, because today it wouldn't be so easy to be a convert. So the Avos rejected her. We'll see why they rejected her. So what did she do? She therefore went and she became a concubine to Eliphaz, the son of Esav. Why would she want to do that? A princess? To become a concubine? Why did she do that? Amra, she said, Mutav, Tei Shivcha Lomazu, it is better to be a concubine maidservant to this nation. Which nation? The nation of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Because Eliphaz is a grandson of whom? Of Yitzchak Avinu. Right? Eliphaz is a grandson of Yitzchak Avinu. So she said it's better to be a maidservant concubine to this nation, because through Eliphaz I'm being attached to his grandfather Yitzchak Avinu, rather than to remain a princess with any other nation. Look at footnote 30, please. Footnote 30, Timna felt it was better to marry into the family of the patriarchs, a God-fearing people, rather than to retain a royal status in another nation. She therefore accepted the lowly rank of concubine to Eliphaz, since he was Yitzchak's grandson. So the story doesn't end there, of course. The story just begins there. What happened? Nafak mina Amalek. So she gave birth, after becoming a slave girl, concubine to Eliphaz, she gave birth to Amalek. Who's Amalek? Abu Mamzer, Haman, the Tzarinin Yisrael, who distressed Israel greatly. Why do we deserve to be tormented? Why do we deserve to be tormented by Amalek? My Tama, the Gemara asked, my Tama, for what reason was Amalek able to cause Israel so much pain and anguish? What sin did we commit that caused us to suffer from Abu Mamzer? I mean, from the Arafats, the rats, at the hands of Amalek. What did we do so bad that we're haunted, we're persecuted and terrorized throughout the centuries by Amalek? What did we do to deserve it? It was because Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov should not have rejected Timna. Stay tuned, but that's what it says. 1 minute.
Okay.
This is a course on how to make enemies. Ray, how to make enemies?
What did Yaakov have to do with this, though?
Look at footnote 29. See, Chava, footnote 29. You want to read it?
It would seem impossible that Timna actually came to Abraham, inasmuch as she was Eliphaz's daughter, see, Rashi to Genesis 36:12. Eliphaz was Esau's son, and Esau was only 15 years old when Abraham died. Rather, the Gemara means to say that Timna sought to attach herself to the descendants of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov by converting to Judaism.
And they all rejected her. All the descendants of Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov rejected her. They rejected her. So back in the Gemara now. It was because Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, or their descendants should not have rejected Timna. Because the patriarchs refused to accept her as a convert, God caused their descendants, whose descendants? Us, the descendants of the patriarchs, to suffer at the hands of what? Of her descendants. Isn't that incredible?
Is this the only reason, Rabbi?
Well, it's one reason, right? Her shame, her resentment, her rejection, her hate passed on to what? To her son Amalek with a mother's milk. When someone is rejected, that rejection turns to hatred and bitterness. And she gave that over to her descendants. And therefore, you see today that the hatred of the nations against Israel, it's all because they feel that they've been rejected by God. That we are God's favorite. God chose us to give us the Torah, to give us Eretz Yisrael. So they have this terrible bitterness and hatred to us. So why blame us? What's the message here, Raphael? I think the message is, among others, be sensitive and courteous to a potential GER. Even when you have to reject him, you have to be sensitive and courteous how to do it. And it's amazing that the Talmud takes the Avos to task that they rejected her, didn't do it in a proper way, so we have to suffer until today. Now the $64 question is, Raphael, why did the patriarchs reject Timna? Look at footnote 31. See footnote 31? Why did the patriarchs reject Timna? After having converted so many other pagans, you hear the question on the table of Yosef. They accepted thousands. The Medrash says that they accepted thousands of pagans, Avram and Sarah. Nefesh asher asu b'charan. Avram and Sarah made souls. Remember Pasuk Lech Lecha? I'm a text man, Chav. It says the nefesh, the souls that Abraham and Sarah made. How do you make a soul? Was Abraham and Sarah, were they shoemakers? No, it was soul makers, right? How do you make a soul? So Rashi says, when you bring someone to the true religion, it's like you make his soul. So if they receive thousands of pagans and show them the way, why did they reject Timna? Footnote 31. Rif explains that Timna was a mamzeres, born of an adulterous union between the wife of Sarah and Eliphaz. The patriarchs therefore refused to accept Timna as a convert because a mamzer is forbidden to marry an ordinary Jew. The problem was there was no such thing as Judaism then. So if the patriarchs acted so wisely and prudently, why are we punished until today from Abu Mamzer? Rif explains that even though our forebears could never sanction Timna's marrying an ordinary Jew, they should have allowed her to come closer to God by joining his people. But by Gentiles, there is no such thing as an adulterous relationship. I mean, there's no such thing as a mamzer. There is adultery, but the child is not a mamzer by non-Jews. So what's the problem? Why did they refuse to accept her? Why did they refuse to accept her? So you look at the paragraph in footnote 31, the Yalkut Hamiri, you see that? Footnote 31, the paragraph, you have it, Yaakov? Yalkut Hamiri suggests that the patriarchs were aware that Timna was primarily motivated by her desire to marry into Abraham's family. However, Jewish law rejects those who wish to convert in order to what? Marry a Jew. So if they did right, why does the Talmud blame them for anti-Semitism, right? Blame the victim. Strange Gemara, therefore I copied it. You shouldn't think I'm off the wall. The conversion has to be l'shem shemayim. If it's done for ulterior motives, it's not a valid conversion. Therefore, the rabbis are very careful to do a background check. A background check. What's it called? Vetting? Yeah. right? Because the Yerdeya and the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch Paskin that halacha rejects those who wish to convert in order to marry a Jew. That cannot be the reason. The reason has to be because you want to become closer to Hashem. If there's an ulterior, selfish reason, then the conversion is what? Not valid. Right? So if that's the case, then why what? Does the Talmud blame the Avos for what? For rejecting her. If they did proper, Very interesting, right?
Rabbi, don't we have the rule that the intention is not as great? If someone does a mitzvah,
right,
even their intentions were not good,
right,
you're saying the mitzvah still stands.
You're saying very good.
Why wouldn't it apply here?
Here, because from the get-go, once you're already a converted Jew, then you can have ulterior motives. Once you join the exclusive circle, Dr. Abramson, then you can have ulterior motives. B'tov shelo lishma, ba lishma. Right? B'tov shelo lishma, ba lishma. That's only when you join the club. But joining the club, that has to be what? Lishma. Otherwise, the whole conversion is based on a fallacy. Versteh? Good question. But that's the answer. That's the answer. But anyway, so the Talmud blames the Avot, and it's strange. I mean, the greatest people have come from Gerim. The greatest people. David Amalek. The Messiah himself comes from who? Ruth the convert. Good thing she didn't live today. Hey.
Rabbi Meir,
Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Akiva. All come from Gerim. Onkelos. Without Onkelos, we can't study Rashi. Where does Rashi get most of his stuff from? Connie. Onkelos. The nephew of the Roman emperor, what's his name? Titus. Right? Parshas Yisro. Nachon? It gets even more complicated. The Ramban in Parshas Lech Lecha makes a shocking statement. The Torah doesn't cover up. That's why we know, Ray, our religion is true blue. Tell it like it is. It says that Sarah afflicted Hagar. Sarah afflicted Hagar. She ran away, remember, caused her to miscarry. The Ramban says because Sarah afflicted Hagar, tormented her. Therefore, says the Ramban, don't throw tomatoes at me. Look at the Ramban, the Parshas Lech Lecha. Therefore, God gave Hagar children who will inflict and persecute the children of Sarah. Should I repeat that? Now, the Ramban wrote this in 1265. In 1265, the children of Hagar were not persecuting Israel. There was the golden age of Spain. The Muslims were living peacefully. Well, in 1265. The Arabs were not persecuting Jews in 1265, were they?
How do we know?
Well, check the history books. But the Ramban is writing, like Ruach HaKodesh, because Sarah persecuted and afflicted Hagar. Therefore, God gave Hagar children. Who are the children of Hagar? Abu Mamzer, Arafat the rat. God gave her children that will afflict and persecute the children of Sarah. That's us. Mida keneged Mida. So Mama Sarah was guilty. Why take it out on us? But it's just incredible.
Yeah, didn't Hagar deserve it?
She taunted Sarah.
That deserves to persecute somebody. Two wrongs don't make a right. The Torah says that she afflicted her and tormented her, caused her to miscarry. And the Ramban says, as a punishment, therefore she gave birth to children. Hagar did. And Keturah, same lady, that her children will persecute the children of what? Of her persecutor. Who's that? Who's the children of her persecutor? Sarah, us. That's what Ramban says in Parshas Lech Lecha. It's very shocking and it's very difficult, but he says it's Mida keneged Mida. Mida keneged Mida. That's what the Ramban says. So it looks like the Talmud and the Ramban are speaking in a course how to make enemies. It gets even more complicated. It gets even more complicated. In Esther chapter 4, it says, Vayikra Mordechai begadav, Mordechai tore his clothes, Vayizak za'aka gedola amara. When he heard about the final decree of Haman, Vayizak za'aka gedola amara. Esther 4. He cried a loud and bitter cry. Says Medrash Rabbah, Za'aka achat, Hizik Yaakov le'esav. Remember back in Parshas told us? When Yaakov swindled Esav with the bracha, he caused Esav to cry out with a loud and bitter cry. It says in Parshas told us, Vayitzak tza'aka gedola amara. Almost the same language. You'll see a difference. Vayitzak tza'aka gedola amara. When Esav found out what Yaakov did to him, he cried out with a loud and bitter cry. Says the Gemara in the Medrash Rabbah, v'nifra lo b'Shushan. Therefore, centuries later, Yaakov got paid back in Shushan. Lamdecha she'ein vatronos lefnei Hashem. Yaakov was Mitzayer Esav. He caused him to cry with a loud and bitter cry. So therefore, centuries later, Vayizak Zaka Gedola Mordechai. Who was Mordechai? The Zohar says Mordechai was a Gilgal of Yaakov. Shetzia Yaakov at Esav. Yaakov was Mitzayer Esav. And the Zohar says that Mordechai was a Gilgal of Yaakov. So this was a tikkun. Yaakov caused Esav to cry out with a loud and a bitter cry. He caused him tsar, agmas nefesh. So centuries later, Yaakov comes back, alias Mordechai, a Gilgal Mordechai. Now, descendant of Esav, Haman, pays him back. He calls same words, almost the same word. By Mordechai it says, Vayizak za'aka gedola mara, Vayizak with a zayin. And by Esav it says, Esav Vayitzak za'aka gedola mara, with a tzadi. So if you ask Ulpan teacher, Za'aka und Tza'aka, ask any Ulpan teacher, they'll tell you it's a synonym bun. But you know in Hebrew there are no synonym buns, even though I like synonym buns. Tza'aka Uzaka. Sherry, you know the difference?
Zaka is like...
No.
Zaka and Tza'aka.
The difference is with one you cried out for yourself.
When is a word? When is
the
a
other
word?
you cried out for others.
So Yehuda Lev gave the answer. Soloveitchik says, Zaka with a Zayin, you're crying out not just from your own pain, but you feel the pain of the Zulat. You feel the pain of others. And you want others also to cry out to Hashem. So by Mordechai, by Yizak Za'aka Gedola Mora, with a Zayin, he cried for his own tsar, and he also cried for the tsar of Am Yisrael, and to get them involved in doing tshuva. By Esav, Vayitzak Za'aka Gedola, with a tzadi. Esav was selfish, he only was concerned of his own. But anyway, without the Zayin and tzadi, it's the exact same language. So the Medrash Rabbah says, Shetzia Yaakov et Esav. Yaakov was Mitzayer Esav, and the Zohar says that Mordechai was a Gilgal, a reincarnation of Yaakov. So therefore, the tikkun had to come. The tikkun had to come. Understand this?
Yeah. No.
So Yaakov had to come back as Mordechai to suffer at the hands of Haman, who's a descendant of whom? Of Esav. It's payback time.
But he didn't suffer.
Who didn't suffer?
Mordecai?
He did suffer. He went through all this tsar and agony. He didn't suffer. He tore his clothes. He thought this is it. Right? But the question is, why is the Medrash Rabbah blaming Yaakov Avinu? Yaakov had to obey his mother as a Navi.
Still a price to
Yaakov had to obey his mother. It's a Rasha. Now, if your mother tells you to swindle and deceive your father, are you allowed to do it? No! So Unculus, without him, Mindel, without Unculus Ager, we don't know. Where does Rashi get most of the material from? Rabbi Yosef. Unculus Ager, Unculus.
Yes.
He's called Unculus. I say, You know, it's Purim. I can make a little Purim. When Titus found out that his nephew converted, he disowned him. So he's called Uncle Less. Purim Torah. Maybe not. I don't know. Titus, the emperor of Rome, was the uncle of Onkelos. When he heard what he did, he disowned him. He made him Uncle Less. So perhaps that's why he's called Onkelos. But the question is that Onkelos asked, look in there, Pastor told us, you're not allowed to dishonor your father. Even if your mother says swindle and lie to your father, you're not allowed to do it. So Onkelos says, it Amar Lai Benevuah. Onkelos says that I'm telling you, Rivka said to her son, it Amar Alai Benevuah. I'm telling you, B'Torah's Navi. If a Navi tells you to dishonor or swindle your father, as long as he says it's Hara'at Sha'ah, Kani, you have to listen.
Or any other mitzvah.
Or any other mitzvah to transgress, as long as he said it's a temporary injunction, Hara'at Sha'ah. Don't try this at home. But a Navi can do that. Therefore, Eliyahu Navi told the Jews to do Shchutei Chutz and Hara Carmel, the sacrifice to Hashem. Sacrificing to God outside of the Beis HaMikdash is Chayiv Karet. Yet the Jews on Hara Carmel did it. That's it. Also Harat Shah. And if you look at the book of Kings, the first Yom Kippur, when Shlomo Melech dedicated the Beis HaMikdash, that Yom Kippur, instead of fasting, Kani, they what? They feast. Now don't try this at home. Shlomo Melech is a bona fide Navi. If he says from now on we're feasting on Yom Kippur, he's a Navi Sheker. But as long as he says Hara'at Sha'ah, and he has a Navi with a track record, like Shlomo Melech, like Rivka, like Eliyahu Navi, then you have to listen to him. So Yaakov had no choice. He had to listen to his mother, Tamar Benevuah. She's telling him at Taras Navi that we have to swindle dear old dad for you to get the brachas. So why is the Medrash holding Yaakov Avinu what? Responsible. That's the question. She told him to do it, and if Navi tells you to do it, you have to listen. The Rambam takes it a step further. The Rambam is something. That year, when when Shlomo Melech dedicated the Beit HaMikdash, that year, Shlomo Melech proclaimed, guys, I'm telling you, Torah's Nevuah, not to spoil the inauguration of the temple, because the temple inaugurated shortly before Yom Kippur, we're going to fast and not feast. If one Jew would have gotten up and told Shlomo Melech, listen, hey Shlomo, take a pill and lie down. I never ate on Yom Kippur, and I'm not going to what? Start now. If that Jew would have fasting on that Yom Kippur, after the Navi ordered him to eat, that Jew would be chayiv mita b'dei shamayim. You want to be more religious than God? What? I don't want to eat on Yom Kippur. If a Navi orders you, b'Torah's Nevuah, Harat Shah, this Yom Kippur, if he says from now on Yom Kippur we're eating, he's a Navi Sheker. But he says to one make Harat Sha'ah, it's a temporary injunction. And the guy says to Shlomo, don't bother me, I'm not going to start eating, I never ate on Yom Kippur, I'm not going to start now. So if that Jew, if he would fast on Yom Kippur, after Shlomo Melech told him to what? He'd be chayiv misa b'dei shamayim.
How do you know a Navi's a Navi?
So you have to have a track record, a resume. Like Rivka Imenu, like Shlomo, like Eliyahu, they had how do you say resume in English? They had a track record, bona fide. You know, they went a certificate from the local Bezdin. Today we don't have Nevuah, but Nevi'im that they did Mofsim, so they are known as a Navi. They have a certificate. They're a Navi. They can pull this. But don't try this today because we ain't got Nevi'im today. There's no Navis today, right?
Dedicate on Yom Kippur.
What?
Why did
He could have said time out, we'll fast and go back to feasting.
why did he dedicate a time on Yom Kippur?
Well, it came out that way. I don't know why. It came out. It came out that way. And that Yom Kippur, if you look in the book of Kings, also Gemara and Yuma, page 9, he ordered them to eat.
Yeah, because it's
Yom Kippur! Sherry, don't try this at home, please. You have to be a bona fide Navi like Shlomo HaMelech, one of the 48 Nevi'im in Tanakh. That's Harat Sha'ah. Right? How could Moshe Rabbeinu smash? How could Moshe Rabbeinu smash the tablets, Mindel? The tablets with God's holy names. He destroyed them. How could he do that? It's erasing God's name. The Rambam asked the question. When you smash the tablets, you're erasing God's name. A terrible sin. Moshe did it. Haracha. And told him Shekoyach. Shekoyach. That's how you know that God is what? An Ashkenazi. Because a Sephardi God would have said Chazaka Baruch. Chazaka Baruch, but no. Rashi quotes Chazal. Hashem said Joseph Yishikoyach. See, God is an Ashkenazi. Connie, you getting this? Yishikoyach should have said Chazaka Baruch. Now let me read you the Ramban. You shouldn't think I'm hallucinating. In Parshas Lech Lecha. Vataineo Sarai, Vatira Paneo, Sarah, no cover-ups in Torah, afflicted and persecuted Hagar. Amazed that, and yet God said Shekoyach. Should have said Chazaka Baruch. No.
We are all one.
Okay. The Ramban says, Chota Imenu. Our mother Sarah committed a sin by afflicting Sarah. V'gam Abraham, and Abraham didn't protest. He saw poor Hagar being afflicted and persecuted by whom? Sarah. By Mama Sarah, and he stood by. V'gam Abraham Avinu beinichu lasas kain v'shama Hashem elonya. God heard her affliction. The mother of Arafat, the mother of Ishmael. God heard her affliction. V'nosala ben shehi pera adam. Her children will be a pera adam. What does a pera adam mean? Wild, savage. Pera before the Adam. Lanot b'nei Avram Sarah, to terrorize and afflict the children of Abraham and Sarah. B'chol minei inui. In all types of what? Affliction. This was written, Dr. Amos, in the year 1265. Looks like he had Ruach HaKodesh, the Ramban did. So that's why we suffer from the Arabs? I admit, Connie, these are very troubling and shocking statements. I admit. But this is what Chazal teach us. There's got to be a message in there somewhere. Very troubling and shocking statements. What?
Hagar wasn't such a tzaddik.
Doesn't matter. Two wrongs don't make her. Sarah had no right to afflict and persecute her. And Abraham stood by and let it happen. God heard her affliction and gave her a son who will terrorize the children of Sarah. Wow. But this took place 3,700 years ago.
Doesn't seem fair.
I don't know. Very troubling and shocking. I agree with you. But let's get back to Yaakov Avinu. Why was he blamed for sticking it to Esau? His ma told him to do it. Al pi nevuah. It's the question on the table, right? To answer this question, we will what?
Ask another question.
Because the Jew will answer the question with
Why not?
Favos nicht, right? Rashi says in Pashas Vayishlach, a very strange Rashi in Pashas Vayishlach. Nenesh Yaakov. Why was Yaakov punished that his daughter Dinah was kidnapped and raped? Strange Rashi in Pashas Vayishlach. Perik Lamed Bet. Nenesh Yaakov. Yaakov was punished. Shemona Dinah Me'achid, because Esau would have wanted to marry Dinah, and she would have what? And she would have Tazareni Lamutab. She would have what?
Maybe.
She would have brought him back to do tshuva, and he refused. He hit her in the chest. He refused. V'nipla biyat Shechem. And therefore she fell into the hands of Shechem. You understand this? I have to give my daughter to a lowlife like Esau. What do you want from him?
He was 70 years old.
Whatever, right?
70, at least 70.
In those days, was...
At least 70 years old.
So what's the problem? Yaakov has to risk his daughter?
No.
That maybe that she will turn Esau Arosha around? What do you want from Yaakov Avinu? My Rebbe Rapam Zazal said, yes, he was right in what he did, to hold Dinah back and hide her. But he should have done it with a krechts. How do you see a krechts in Yiddish? A sigh. Nebuch, he's my brother, he's my own flesh and blood. Perhaps I should give my daughter such a righteous tzaddikus, a Beis Yaakov girl. Perhaps she could make him better. And Nebuch said, I can't do it. I can't take the chance. But he was besimcha. He was besimcha by not giving his daughter to Esav. He was happy about it. Because if Esav would do tshuva, he wouldn't shine anymore. Yaakov is the great Yaakov. Why is you ever go to West 47th Street? Why is the diamond always displayed against a black background? Mindel, you ever West 47th Street, Manhattan?
Yeah.
You were there?
Yeah.
All diamonds are displayed against a black background. Why not a white background? Because the diamond shines against black. Yaakov shines when you compare him to the Schwarze Esav. But if Esav would do tshuva, ois kapelich macher. How do you say that in English? Ois kapelich macher. Anybody know Yiddish? He's not shining no more. So he was happy that he could stick it to Esav. Yes, he had to listen to his mother to deceive him, but he was happy about it. I'm going to stick it to Esav. You should never have to deceive my brother. He's my flesh and blood. I have to do. My mother tells me Torah's Nevuah. But he was happy and cheerful that he could swindle Esav, and happy and cheerful that Dinah will not turn his brother around. That's why he was punished. My Rebbe Rapam. A brother's a brother. So he's a Rasha, but he's still my flesh and blood. Halavai, I can help him. Never, if I can't help him, at least do it, how do you say, with a schwere hearts. But to be happy that I'm rejecting him, to be happy that I'm swindling him, that's why Yaakov was punished. Vayizak z'oka gedoyla mara. He caused Esav to cry bitterly. And when Yaakov heard that, he should have said what? Nebuch. But he said, yeah, right on. He should have cried with him. Nebuch, I have to swindle you. I have to. But to be happy about sticking it to a brother, that's why he was punished.
When was the exact time?
Look in Parshas Toldos.
When
Yaakov found out, when Esav found out that he was swindled, it says, "Vayitzak tza'aka gedoyla mara" in Parshas Toldos. And in the Megillah, centuries later, it says by Mordechai, when he found out about the evil decree, "Vayizak tza'aka gedoyla mara." Mida keneged mida. The Medrash says, "She'ein vatranut lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu." Ein vatranut lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What goes around comes around. This is frightening. This is frightening. What? The Bechira Avot. But that's how you know that our religion is what? True blue. Other religions invent fantastic lies about their heroes. The greatness of Judaism, Achmiel, that all of our heroes were what? Human. And to be human means to fail big time. Even the greatest. Tell it like it is. There's no cover-ups, Connie, in our Torah.
But Dinah was the one that was punished.
Dinah was punished because maybe the same thing. She was happy. She maybe could have turned Esav around, Uncle Esav. But she was happy that what? That he's a lowlife. She was happy. When someone is suffering, especially a relative, and he's, a Russia, you don't be happy about it. If you can't help him, at least feel bad for him. Not to dance on his tsaris. How do you say that in English? Not to be happy what Yenem's trouble. At least empathize. Yaakov didn't do that. The opposite, my Rebbe said. He was happy for Esav's rejection and Esav's off the derech. And so was Dinah. And God says, I cannot tolerate that. Because the greater a person is, the greater what Hashem holds him what? Accountable. So Dinah and Yaakov were great people. They should have at least sympathized. What's the word? Empathize? Sympathize, thank you, with Esav. But not to be happy for his what? Low-life ways. This way I shine. If Esav is a tzaddik, then what am I? Right? A diamond against a white background? It don't shine. You went to 47th Street, David, no? David, you never went to 47th? You never see, you always display it against a black background, a diamond. So this is the idea. Troubling. It's something to think about. How we conduct ourselves with people, there's a backlash. And even when we have to reject somebody, we have to do it with what? With kindness and courtesy and respect. Because otherwise you can have terrible repercussions. That's what the Talmud is telling us over here. The Megillah says, Mordechai a Yehudi. Mordechai was the Godel Hadar. And you call him Mordechai a Yehudi, Ish Yehudi, Jew boy. Would you call the Moshe Feinstein, Ray, Jew boy? The Megillah, Mordechai was the Rosh of the Sanhedrin. And he's called Ish Yehudi, a Jew boy.
Or Jew man, anyway.
A Jew man. Rabbi Yaakov, what's going on? What's going on? Mishinechtes Adar marben b'simcha. What's so special about Adar? What about Mishinechtes Nisan marben b'simcha? What am I, chopped liver? What's so special? Adar. Why should I be so happy in the month of Adar? Ish Yehudi, because I'm a Jew boy. If I'm nothing else, I'm a Yehudi. I'm not like them. That alone should make me very happy. I don't need titles, chief, rabbi, doctor. I'm a Yehudi. I'm beloved of Hashem. What does the word Yehuda mean? To praise and thank God. That's enough to make me happy. That I'm a Ish Yehudi. Even though Mordechai comes from Shevet Binyamin, we're all called Yehudim because we all have a tafkid to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem says, your praise is important to me. Every Jew is important to God. If that don't make me happy, Raphael, I don't know what will. I'm important to God. He needs me. Now you know why? B'simcha. This is the month to focus on that. I don't need any titles. PhD, Dr. Rabbi, PhD, Papa has dough. Or PhD, piled high and deep. Ish Yehudi. That's enough to make me happy. I come from Yehudim. I have the zchus to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yehuda. Yehudim. Don't need any titles. You know, there's 6 mitzvahs on Purim. You know that? Everybody thinks there are only 4. But there are actually 6. Number 1, Megillah. Number 2, Al HaNisim Ve'al HaPurkan. Number 3, to read Vayovay Amalek, Purim morning, Exodus 17, the actual terror attack in the desert. Number 4, Connie, is what? Matanas Lavyonim. Number 5, Mishloach Monot. And number 6, to have a Suda with wine. 6. Don't confuse me with the facts. Now, of all 6 mitzvahs, which comes at the end? Suda. Because if you have the Suda and Yain before, you'll be too drunk to do the other 5. But I say no. I say Sherry's saving the best for last. Achron, Chaviv. That's why Vini's table always comes. Mindol at the end of the meal. So the Suda and the Yain I'm saving for last. Last. Saving the best for last.
Especially this time.
Say the best for last. But my Rebbe Rapam gave a deeper explanation. He says, why is there a mitzvah to have a Suda on Shabbos, Yontif, Bris Milah, Chasen, every religious holy occasion, there's a mitzvah to have a Suda? You ever wonder? I'm glad you asked. When there's a Yontif, a Shabbos, you finish a tractate, you attend a Bris, Bar Mitzvah, there's a tremendous amount of Kiddusha that is being showered on the event, whether the day, the occasion, the bris milah, the finishing of a sechta, tremendous amount of kedusha that's being showered from God, and it's being absorbed by what? The neshama. But a human being is made up of what? Body and soul. The neshama is absorbing the kedusha of the day or the event. But the guf says, hey, what am I, chopped liver? How do I get to participate in the kedusha?
With chopped liver.
By eating chopped liver. Or gefilte fish. My Rebbe Rapam said this. He said it's called spiritual osmosis. That's what he said. He grew up in America as a little boy. Spiritual osmosis, he said. If osmosis works in the physical world, it's certainly what, Raphael?
Works within the spiritual world.
Because the physical world is only a reflection of what? So you have so much kedusha. You read the Megillah. You said Al Anisim. You read Vayova Amalek. You gave tzedakah. You gave shleach manos. The neshama is bursting and saturated with what? Kedusha. So the guf says, what about me? Am I a stepchild? So when you give it chopped liver and gefilte fish, you are transferring rachmil, the kedusha from the neshama to the guf. Therefore, the Suda is saved for last.
At what time should one have?
And therefore, the same thing, Sherry, you attend the bris milah. When do you eat? After. You attend the chasana chuppah. When do you eat? After. When do you eat? Before you finish the tractate? No, after. Because the kedusha of the event, of the day, of the moed, the neshama is absorbing it. Now you're ready for a transfusion, Connie. That's manja. But after the event, after the bris milah, people eat before. It's not. No. They nibble before. No.
After the kiddushin.
After the kiddushin, after the chuppah, after the bar mitzvah, after the pidyon haben. You don't nibble before. First the neshama has to what? What's the word? Be saturated with the kedusha of the event. Now you're ready to transform. What's the word? Transfer.
After building the Mishkan last week also, the Mishkan.
Nochon.
It was Seudah, big Seudah.
Nochon. After Sudat Mitzvah.
What do you think of the advertisers though?
That doesn't count. The Sudat Mitzvah is after the Chasana. And the Sudat Mitzvah is after the Bris Milah. And after you finish a tractate. I'm just telling you why. Because once the neshama has absorbed the kedusha of the event, of the day, now it's ready for the what's the word, transfusion? Osmosis. Pretty amazing. The Suda. We have halacha, ain't kiddush el mokam Suda. There's halacha like that, in Sechta Psachim Raphael, that when you make kiddush, you have to have a meal with it, right? So if you attend the kiddush, you have to have some cookies. Otherwise, you have to go home and make kiddush again. Because kiddush has to be b'makam Suda, right? That's a technical halacha. Takes the Ariya Kodosh and he gives it a Kabbalistic spin, Reb Shalom. Ain't kiddush el mokam Suda. If you want to gauge somebody's kedusha, if he's really holy, it's how he behaves at a Suda. Says there, it's no big trick to serve God when you're fasting. When you're fasting, you're abstaining, Yom Kippur, you don't smell so good, you're tired, you're hungry. Even if you wanted to sin, who'd want to sin with you? You ain't got the koyach to sin. You didn't take your Viagra or the spirulina. You don't smell so nice. And you have no koyach to sin. Anyone who want to sin with you? But when you're indulging, says the Ari, and you go to town, and you still remember you're a Jew, that's true test of Kedusha. Ain't Kiddush Mokam Suda. So therefore the Ari quotes the Zohar, Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippurim. What? Yom Kippur is a day like Purim. Because Yom Kippur, you're serving God with your neshama by ignoring the guf. Purim, you're serving God with your body. It's more difficult to serve God when you're indulging your body and you still remember that you're kadosh. That's more difficult, Chava, right? And we know Lefum Tzara Agra, the shortest Mishnah in Shas, 3 words. Lefum Tzara Agra, no pain, no gain. And therefore, Purim, if it's utilized properly, can be a day like Yom Kippurim. Purim is the time to stop and think. There are no supernatural miracles. No splitting of the Red Sea. No Dan Quayle. No magic donuts from heaven, right, Cherry? What is there? It's when you turn around and you look around what's happening in the state of Israel. What we take for granted. We think it's natural that we are 3 years after the Holocaust, we came and we built the jewel of the Middle East, the leader in high tech and low tech and smartphones and dumb phones. In every field, we're the leader 3 years after the Holocaust. There's an amazing verse in Zechariah chapter 8. Zechariah was a contemporary of Mordechai and Esther, you know that? Koyamar Hashem. Now he said this 2,400 years ago when Israel was in ruins. Od yeshvu zikenim b'rechovot Yerushalayim. Jerusalem was a desolate ruin then, 2,400 years ago. Old people will still sit in the streets of Jerusalem. Rechovot ha'ir yamalu yeladim misachkim. And the streets of Jerusalem would be filled with children playing. Here, ki yapale be'enai. God says, gam be'enai yapale. It's a wonder, right? God says, gam be'enai yapale nu Hashem. God says He is wondering from the ruins, from the Holocaust, 3 years like a phoenix out of the ashes of Auschwitz, to build this wonderful country. Canaan Horowitz teeming with Kinderlach, running in the streets and old people sitting in the park. What Zechariah said 2,400 years ago, they thought he's what? He's delusional. It's in ruins. 3 years after Auschwitz. A third of our people were massacred. That's the greatest miracle of all. Even though there's no splitting of the Red Sea, this is a greater miracle. Because splitting of the Red Sea only happened once. Dan Quayle only happened once. But the miracles of the beautiful state of Israel, every single day you wake up. Every new invention, high-tech, low-tech, vase. If Moshe would have had vase, he wouldn't plunge you 40 years in the Midbar. Right, Connie? But he didn't have vase.
Put it in and say,
what?
It's going to take me 40 years to get there. So it's
right.
So that
Tell you another good word from my Rebbe. We still have 5 minutes. All the poskim say that the purpose of drinking is the year dam. The year dam, what does that mean? The Ramban, the Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Brura, they all say you have to drink wine and then go to sleep. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, his son, testified, Connie, that on Purim he didn't drink wine before he only what? Only went to sleep. Because when you go to sleep, Adar lo yada. Why is it so important to what? Sleep. The purpose of drinking is the yirdam, is to go to sleep. Madua v'lama. So my Rebbe Pam said something amazing. When a baby sleeps, is he worried about something, Connie? You know, last night I slept like a baby, Sherry. I woke up crying every hour.
You get up 8 times.
He's supposed to sleep like a baby. My Reverend Palm said, a baby sleeps, he's confident that his mommy is always there. He doesn't want for anything. He knows when he cries, his mommy will what? Take care of him. Purim is the time we sleep like a baby because our mommy and daddy is always close by. That should make me very happy. Go to sleep, sleep like a baby peacefully. Because our parent, with a capital P, is always close by. Whether we know it or not, he's always there with us. That's a little bit of what Purim is about. Sleep like a baby.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.